morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Jay on the road. Good morning. I saw you pop up right at the last second there. Somebody's on their laptop. But good morning, everybody. I'm still away. I'm currently in Medicine Hat, the gas city, after a great showing last night. And ironically enough, on my way to the gas city, what happened? I ran out of gas.
How'd that happen?
Well, let's put it this way. The car lied to me. It said you have this much distance left, and I had plenty. Nope. Transgender highway. Had to pull over safely and get her done. And yes, not CAA, it's AMA here.
Yeah,
took care of me, and away it went. It was all good.
Yes, thank you very much. Considering how snowy it was yesterday, the turnaround time for them to get you was pretty decent. You were only, about 20 kilometers out of Medicine Hat, so not too far?
No, I was only 10 kilometers from the gas station because I had that in there, and that's where I was headed next. But I need a little bit more, just a little bit more.
But nevertheless, yes, thank you, AMA, for taking care of my husband and son yesterday afternoon, because, you left, about 10, 11 from
10.
home? Yeah, and took your sweet time with all the snow on the roads. The snow's still coming down, so I'm glad you got there safe and sound.
There's certainly some routes that were not so favorable. They probably were shorter, so the GPS took us through it, but they were not the best. But no, we paid attention, drove safe, 4-wheel drive. So thanks a lot for offering up that vehicle, because I think the car would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
Look how proud she is. She's like, yeah, I was right.
It can be from time to time. Yeah. But no, it worked out. Like I said, the little man and I we weren't planning on going anywhere, and even if we were, we have very good neighbors with 3 vehicles that would easily get through snow, so I wasn't too concerned if we needed to go somewhere. So
for sure. Now, for future reference, I could have taken the 2 all the way through Calgary, got onto the 1. It would have been a lot cleaner. But no, the GPS zigzags us way over there. So we take some Alberta roads, other roads.
Scenic routes?
All good.
So you took some scenic routes?
Yeah, we went through Drumheller, that kind of route. So just got to do a diagonal. From our place to Drumheller to Medicine Hat. That's kind of the route.
Yeah. Well, anyway, glad you got there okay, and that we had a great event at the Monarchy Theatre.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share.
Yeah, it was a good event. So the Monarch Theater is a beautiful theater in downtown Medicine Hat. Plenty of seats. Popcorn was flowing. It was a large screen. It was good to see it again on a large screen with a lot more people there. Thank you to Medicine Hat. You guys really turned up. Sour Beans, if you know who Sour Beans is on X, she was there as well. And it was a good group. Some good questions. A couple stories were shared. And we had Bathsheba Vandenberg. She provided some great information around Detective Helen Gruss, who is in the documentary, and her case, her tribunal, and also in general, human rights, what's going on with the human rights. Talked about Barry Neufeld and the decision there, and some of the other fights that Bathsheba's doing. Great lawyer. And we also had a Rebel reporter there, Tamara Leach, showed up to see what was going on, and that was kind of neat to see that happen. I've never really seen her, in her work clothes before. Always just kind of hanging out at events and stuff like that. But now she was working, had her work clothes on, which is the way that she can continue to get out and do stuff. She's allowed to, under house arrest, to continue to work. So she came as a reporter at the end, and we got to spend a little bit of time. She picked up a copy of the movie, and I'm expecting something to be reported on shortly. So thank you very much to Rebel for showing up on that.
Yeah, no, it was great to hear. I liked how you even sent me a photo of the movie poster or the lineup at the theater, and there we were, March 12th, the Levine Show.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. On the outside, they have this poster which shows all the events coming up, and it didn't say the Levine Show, but it said the Shot. Sean Hartman's story. Yeah, and it was kind of neat to kind of see it there amongst all the other movies that were being shown. So thank you very much to the Monarch. They're very accommodating. It's a great place to do it. Price is reasonable, and I'm very pleased with the outcome. A good audience showed up.
Yep.
Our best one in Alberta so far, just to highlight that. We are expecting a pretty good audience in Calgary on the 16th. So go to supportsean.ca to get yourself some, reserve your seat. There's no cost. It's free. We'll be in Winnipeg on Wednesday, Selkirk on Thursday, and then back to Edmonton on Saturday. So 4 massive shows coming up. Go ahead and grab your free seats to those. And if you're in the Buck Creek, Drayton Valley, Brazeau County area, 15th. So this Sunday, we'll also be showing it at the local market. So that should. It's a little intimate group. We get a smaller group when we go there, but these are our neighbors, our backyard. So I'm happy to share it there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Even like I says, it'll be at the local market, so go ahead and check that out too. Check out all the local vendors. But yes, we will be showing it there. And market starts at 1 o'clock, so right after church, everyone can head on over to the Buck Creek Community Hall, do a bit of shopping, and then the movie is at 2?
2:30. Yeah. So normally we advertise the time, and then we start about 30 minutes after to give people time to get there, get into the seats, get comfortable. Maybe buy a couple items from the market and get ready to see it.
Yeah, because market's done at 4. So there you go, folks. So 1 till 4, check out the local market, and then anytime from 2:30 to 3:30, check out the documentary.
Yep, and then we'll do a quick Q&A and then wrap up the market, and then we'll have some rest. There'll be a little bit of rest for us after that.
A little bit. We've got to head to Calgary on Monday.
That's why I said little bit. So half of Sunday we'll relax a bit.
Oh, there we go. Good morning, all from Gloria. The great presentation last night in the Hat. So thank you very much, Gloria. You
Gas City. So ironic as I'm driving in after, my pride has been left on the highway as Chris had to come and bail us out and get some gas to us. I'm pulling into the Gas City. I'm like,
Isn't there a spot in Red Deer that's called Gasoline Alley as well? There's a little section in Red Deer that's called that.
Yep. And there's a place in the bush west of Breton called Gas Hut. That's us.
Yes. Yeah, the Gas Hut.
And sometimes my tummy gets you.
Hello, good morning to everyone in the chat who's joining us on all our platforms. Great to see you on this not snowy anymore Friday. We had the snow lightly come down yesterday. In the great scheme of things, not a lot ended up coming down here, maybe just a couple of inches because it snowed all day. But it's finally done now. Just got to dust off the solar panels, and we should be good for our cloudy sun for the day.
Fantastic. And we shared some news with our supporters yesterday, but we didn't have a chance to share it with everybody. What happened on Tuesday night?
Well,
or was
Jason
it Wednesday night? It was Wednesday night.
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? Okay, whatever. Wednesday. We went to, Jason and I are on the UCP Drayton Valley Devon CA board, Constituents Association. Association. And I became the VP of Public and Youth Outreach. Engagement, yeah.
Engagement or outreach, one of the two, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I became VP. And you, what did you do, sir?
I went and got myself involved as the VP of Policy and Governance. So I'll put my little noggin to some use, coordinate a bunch of the ideas that come in for policies, help construct them and get them ready, and ensure that we're ready for the AGM, as in Calgary in November, and make sure that we bring forward a lot of policies. I know what word I'd like to see a lot in there: independent. Yes. So we'll see how this goes. But I was selected by the board to be the VP of Policy and Governance. Yep.
So we want to. I want to clarify. I said to our viewers before. I am still pro Alberta sovereignty. I am just until that comes to fruition, we've got to work with what we've got, and I want to contribute positively to that. Make sure that we all have the best UCP party that we can. So I want to contribute to that while we're waiting for our sovereignty to come through.
Absolutely. Get involved, participate, put some of your energy in. You can't complain much if you're not getting yourself involved, and we want to complain. So we're definitely getting ourselves involved. You're on the community board for the hall. You're on the library board in Drayton Valley. You're now on the CA board as VP. Congratulations. I'm very proud of what you're doing. You're doing some great work. You're putting in some good energy, and you make great beef jerky. So I'm not sure how you do it all, but you do.
I know. I'll be starting on that today. The meat's defrosted, so I'll make sure that we've got some for our Manitoba trip.
Hint, hint. So yeah, as a person that's involved with the public and youth engagement or outreach, you'll be helping with setting up events and getting things done, including the the event that Danielle Smith will be attending for the Drayton Valley Devon area riding. So looking forward to seeing what you put together there.
Yeah, me too. And it seems like a very good group who want to be productive. So looking forward to working with the rest of the board and whomever ends up being on my team.
Yeah, and we got to spend a little time with our MLA, Andrew Boychenko. He's probably getting sick and tired of seeing you because that's like twice in a week or so that he saw you.
Yeah, he saw me fairly. Yeah, he saw me fairly recently for a library board meeting. So.
Yeah, so he's getting used to us, the Levines. There we are. We're out there. We're doing our part, and the rest of the board's filled with fabulous people. So I'm looking forward to working with them.
Yep. Yeah, no, me too. Looking forward to it as well.
Well, let's jump into the news because we have a lot to cover. I'm doing my best to make sure we stay on top of that as well. But thank you very much to Mitch Sylvester, who joined us yesterday, gave us a bit of a highlight on what's coming down for April 7th, which is the decision at the court, possibly an injunction as well to stop the collection of signatures. He clarified that the injunction that's been applied for, the application, is to stop the signature petition portion. So there's a big push to ensure that the necessary signatures are collected before that date. If the court decides that they can continue, well, then that's exactly what they do. We'll go all the way to May 2nd. But if there's an injunction, it doesn't mean it will stop permanently. It could mean that later the injunction's lifted after arguments and the application goes further in the courts, and then they can continue again. But it's going to be best for everything to make sure that all signatures that are required are done ahead of time. So there's a big push to be a canvasser, get out there, door knock, go in pairs at least. And if you can do it in teams and take the neighborhood and go on both sides of the street, even better, because there's been a lot of hostility, not at the doors, but at pop-up locations. And very pleased that we were able to get more information from him on that so that the canvassers out there have good information, fresh information, most up-to-date information. So that's been passed around and shared all over the place. We're getting some good numbers on that episode. And also a big thank you to Dr. Modry for coming on to address and confront the CBC hit piece on him. And as you see here, we posted his full statement. It's a 3-pager about this. So if you want to know really what was going on about the family event, his uncle, his aunt, the will, the investment in residents, you can go ahead and read this. He lays it all out here. There's a lot of information here that didn't make it into the CBC article, of course. And CBC cherry-picked out of the lawsuit and focused on the allegations, which were not necessarily proven, focused on the allegations. For example, said he owned property down in the States when he does not, and said he used proceeds for wine and crypto when he did not. So CBC used allegations, published them to smear him. It was over a year ago that the decision came out. They didn't touch it then. And they put pictures of Mitch and the Premier and Stay Free Alberta events, which Modry is not even at, inside the article. So you can see what they're doing here. They're trying to smear the movement. So thank you very much to to Dennis for coming on to clarify some of those details with us. And there's going to be a couple more times where he goes public, and then he's just going to go back to his life. He doesn't want to make this a big distraction. So go ahead and check out the article, his statement, and the interview as well, if you want to understand what's really going on here. And yeah, CBC, once again, they went and shot themselves in the foot. They've exposed themselves for who they are, and they're absolutely going after a movement that has absolutely nothing to do with the civil case in BC, and they're tying it together without even giving Modry the credit that is due for all the hard work he's done, 30 plus years, saving lives, over 7,000 patients in Alberta. He created the Western Canada Heart and Lung Transplant Program. This is a good man that's being tarnished by the CBC.
Yeah, unfortunately, and surprise, surprise, hearing that the CBC are at it again.
I'm waiting for mine. Two-time losing candidate for election, Levine, something like that. Because I did lose twice. Yep, for sure.
You did.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, and still trying to, make a better world, make a better Alberta. Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on me. Or board member and 3 different boards has time for jerky, but does she have time for her children? There's the headline on you.
Oh, that one hit home. Oh my goodness.
There you go, CBC. This stuff just writes itself.
Yeah.
But thank you again for Modric for coming forward publicly and sharing some of the information that he lived through and clarified what was going on with that BC claim. If you're interested, the shot is on USB now. As we spoke about yesterday, I got to start coding and scripting and making it so that I can make duplications and do this quickly for you all. But we are now making it available on the website, supportsean.ca. You go ahead and order a USB. It works great in smart TVs, your laptop, your computer, even a digital projector if you want to show it to a small group of people. We would encourage you to do that. Get the story out there. So, if you don't have a DVD player, USB now. Works everywhere.
And
there's one of these heading all the way. One of these are heading to the UK already. So the UK is going to get a copy of the shot. That happened last week.
I was going to say, and might I add, only a coder would clarify the difference between coding and scripting.
Yep. The same thing as clarifying the difference between a geek and a nerd. I'm not a geek. I am a nerd. There's a difference, folks. There's a reason why there's 2 words. I'm a nerd. I'm not a geek. But the availability on USB just went live yesterday. Okay, so Elections Alberta did a post, news release, providing some more information around canvasser conduct and harassment and misinformation. They made it very, very, very clear in this release, if you read it, that they're holding canvassers to a much higher standard. Canvassers can get themselves in trouble because they have to abide by the code of conduct. But when it comes to the harassers, the ones that coming after the canvassers, they're going to take no action. What they said is this will be a local police matter. You have to take it up there, and the threshold for criminal is really high when it comes to harassment. And that's unfortunate because there is a $25,000 fine for interfering in the process. But they've made it clear in this news release that they don't plan to pursue any of that. So in other words, they just basically said canvassers are sitting ducks. You want to go harass them, go ahead. Just stay below the limit for the criminal level, which is kind of high. And so we've now seen an increase since this news release. There's several more videos now of people being harassed at pop-up stations by people who are very upset, possibly paid, or are very worried because they believe the fear campaign is going on, that things like their pension will be at risk. In either case, this was, I think, a misinformed news release because it basically said, no, we're going to hold canvassers to a higher standard. So if they fight back, yell back, swear back, they're in trouble. But when it comes to the harassers, no, we're not doing anything. We'll leave that with the police. So that's sadly the facts here. Marty lays it out pretty clearly, basically what I just laid out to you as well. Canvassers have to be on their best behavior at all times, and we are. But it looks like they've kind of set the stage for provoking to potentially allow the harassers to try and provoke the canvassers to cross the line, swear back, yell back, and then the canvasser can get themselves in trouble, get fined, and their signatures can be invalidated. So canvassers out there, thick skin, bite your tongue, don't engage, just pull out your camera, you can film what they're doing and then share that. That's allowed. But don't engage and don't fall into the trap, because that's probably what they're trying to do here. Not Elections Alberta, but the ones that are doing the harassing. They're probably just trying to provoke you.
Yeah, it's a very good chance of that for sure.
Yeah, so check out that post by Marty up north because it is important. We don't need any canvassers to get themselves into trouble. So stay strong out there. Gosh, I hate this painting so much. But it says everything. It says everything.
It does. I was gobsmacked when this got unveiled his official portrait. My goodness.
Yeah, this is official. This is an AI. Nobody's trying to demonize him. He did this himself. Yeah. Put this out. So as we all know now, some chiefs, and it looks like 2 from Alberta and 4 or 5 from Saskatchewan, went to London to speak to the king about the concerns about Alberta separation. I find it pretty interesting that only 2 of them are from Alberta. The rest were from Saskatchewan. maybe they understand if Alberta leaves, Saskatchewan will be next. But in either case,
preemptive. Mm.
They brought their concerns to the exact system, the monarchy, who colonized them, enslaved them, put them under the Indian Act, like the same system that they've been
the
fighting
original white colonizers.
The same system that they've been fighting against for centuries now went on a bended knee to beg them to keep it all together the way it was. We fully understand that it's only the chiefs who feel this way. It's not the First Nations, Indigenous, or Indians of Alberta that feel this way. It's the chiefs, and most people want to be out of the monarch, don't want anything to do with them anymore. And that's going to be one of the benefits of voting for independence. That is one of the things that will be on the table. You're going to be a republic, or you're going to be a commonwealth under the king. I'm pretty sure if you take the temperature of even just Canadians, they don't want the monarch anymore. So it's one of the benefits of going forward, but I think it's funny or ironic that this group is going to the king to say, hey, keep us under the system. I understand that the chiefs like it. They get more money that way. So it works for them, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I think this is why they're trying to preempt love, is because they know the will of their people is to be independent and have self-determination. So they know if it goes to a referendum, those numbers are going to be exposed. You're going to see exactly who was, not who, but where was voting for what. We'll have those kind of breakdowns. And you'll see that on the reserves, there's a strong support for it. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that the vote isn't happening on the reserves because they know what the vote will be. They're very, very in tune with their power position and how they don't want it anymore, the people that are living under it. And by the way, that's a lot same for all of us. We don't want them to be administered by Ottawa. We don't want this power taking control of what we do here. We want self-determination. So we all agree on that, except for the elites. And that includes the elites in First Nations, which are the chiefs. So my post here is, I don't give 2 pence what Charles thinks. But
yeah, I hear what you did there. I hear what you did.
Everybody did there? Yeah, I had to double check the spelling to make sure it was good. Well, you know, me and spelling, we don't get along. We're foes.
True.
Yeah, I probably can spell foes incorrect as well. So I shared another post from Marty. Marty's just on fire with some of the stuff. But Dean Dumdell, I used to listen to him in the GTA. Yeah, he's way off the rocking chair now.
No kidding.
He's providing misinformation about Bill C-9. By the way, I've seen a lot of people that said Bill C-9 has not passed. I double-checked it all yesterday. It's not a reading yet in the House. It hasn't even touched the Senate yet. What did pass was a motion, not a bill, a motion about the arguments or the debate for Bill C-9. It's now been canceled. There's going to be no debate, so it's going to just go through to the vote. It's going to really skip third reading, go to a vote, and then it's got to go to the Senate to be passed as well. So no, Bill C-9 hasn't passed, but a motion on the debating of stopping the debate on Bill C-9 has passed. And you couldn't get much more larger indication of what this is all about when they censor the conversation about a censorship bill. And then morons like Dean here thinks it's actually a good thing. This is a good thing. It will end misinformation and hate speech in Canada. Well, he's a moron. So that's clear from this. And he calls the other person a moron because there's like, they say, please pray for Canada. Bill C-9 is going to be crazy. Dean is such a moron that he doesn't realize that post here likely will fall under hate speech. And he himself is going to find himself on the wrong end of Bill C-9. So maybe he should check his receipts, and maybe somebody should create a Bill C-9 tester that says, okay, well, under Bill C-9, these posts that you made would qualify you for hate speech. Maybe a lot of people would wake up if there was a tool like that. But Marty's calling him out this, and my post here is facts. Dean is not only one of the most hateful accounts on X, he's also one of the most prolific propagandists out there, because he is providing a lot of misinformation, including misinformation about Bill C-9 itself. The irony is thick with this guy.
Yes.
Yes. You're like a
Yeah,
hype
well,
man.
yeah, no, it is
Yes.
disappointing because we used to watch the listen to The Edge, and it used to be funny
Yeah.
because that's what it was, just comedy. It was just fun. But when you actually see, like,
Mhm.
if this is what his personality was and his thought process is really like, it's like, wow, it's shocking. Like the whole typical thing, don't meet your
He could be
heroes.
back
Just
injured, frontal lobe back
very
injury.
true.
They're going to learn.
Very,
They're going
very
to
true.
learn over the next little bit that is a thing. It
Yeah.
crosses the blood brain barrier, and there's a lot of people that have had frontal lobe damage. He may be one of them.
Yeah, the
And
modern
it's in
day
May.
zombies and Walking Dead.
And he blocked me like early. Like I just popped up
He
on the
did.
scene to start saying things, and he blocked me. And I'm like, what? First, Dean Blundell recognized me. He noticed me. Like, oh, well, that's kind of neat because I did have respect for him. And then I started seeing what he was doing. I'm like, oh, because he called me a crazy anti-vaxxer before he even knew me.
Yeah.
In either case. So here we go. Rise of Alberta is letting everybody know. Same thing that we just did with Mitch. Signed before April 7th. Let's get her done. Let's equip Mitch with the numbers. And that might even assist when it comes to the court, because now it's moot if you reach 177,000 signatures before April 7th. And maybe the court will just dismiss it at that point because there's no point. They've already reached the requirement. Let them finish, because there's nothing the court will be doing at that stage. It's going to move to a referendum. But let's get out there and do the work. If you haven't signed, go to stayfreealberta.com, find a location near you. You can also fill in the request them to come to your home if you can't make it out to a location. And keep your porch lights on, because there'll be some door knocking happening in your neighborhood as well.
Yep.
And join us in Calgary Monday night for the screening of The Shot. So we know that Kerry Sakamoto will be there. Other people will be there. You probably want to have a little meet and greet and say hello to you. Kerry will be part of the Q&A at the end. I'm not quite sure of all the timing, because this is an event that's also with Act Now. Yeah. And Chris Scott will be there. He'll be presenting as well. But I think what they're going to do is the documentary will be first, the Q&A, and then we move into the rest of the evening. But do get there for 6 p.m. and so you don't miss anything. And it's also going to be pretty busy and pretty full. So make sure you reserve your seat or get there early to make sure you get in there. There is a limited capacity, but it's a large number. So let's go ahead and fill that up. So see you there.
And Max from freedomcalendar.net will be streaming. He won't be streaming the documentary, but he will be streaming the Act Now meeting.
Correct. So that's why I believe the documentary will be first, so that once that's done, then Max can go live with the rest of it. So that'll be the Q&A and the rest of the evening. But if you want to watch the documentary, that will be a good time to do so. So we'll see you at Habibi's Banquet Hall in Calgary, 6 p.m. Monday. All right, so there's this far left account, well known as a far left account, blocked me. I didn't even know who they were, but blocked me. But they put up the poll. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be part of Canada and become an independent state? So they posted the question that's likely going to end up on the referendum in October. And surprising to them, I'm sure, 63% of a yes, even though they're a lefty account. So all their followers would vote no on this. But with almost 9,000 votes, it's 63%. So I posted here, too bad this far left account has me blocked. I would give them a like for this poll. Almost 9,000 votes, and the yes is winning. 63% would be a clear majority, FYI. I actually honestly suspect this is going to be very, very close to the actual results. 62% said they wanted to end the equalization, and all of those people, if they really feel that way, the only way to end equalization would be this path. And there's a lot more support than the polls are showing, the media is showing. So I would not be surprised if it was close to this kind of number in the real world. So we'll see. Yep. And thank you very much to CM Calgary for posting it. And if you haven't voted yet, go ahead and give it a vote. If you're not blocked, you'll be able to get it. And if somebody posts the link, you'll be able to vote. That's how I was able to vote. But I'm not able to repost it or anything like that. But yeah, go ahead and get your vote in there.
I'm not sure if they've taken it down. So I've gone to their website. I've gone to their X page right now.
It's lower down. No, it was up this morning.
Oh, there it is now. I found it. It was on March 10th.
Yeah, it's lower down. Yeah, it's 4 days old, or 4 days left. Yeah, March 10th. There you go.
You know what, folks? I'll even pop it in the chat now for you guys.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, go ahead and share that out. I can't share it on X because I'm blocked. but I can share a screenshot, so I did. But go ahead and pop your vote in. I'm curious what you voted.
Oh, wait, I'll vote now.
And what's it at right now?
We are, okay, so 63.4% saying yes, and it's 8,784 votes. So 4 days left. Go ahead and have your vote, folks. I'll pop it all in our the chats on our platforms.
But I think the headline here is this is a far left account. So his audience, or they, them, I'm not even sure what this is. So they, them, probably closer to the actual real number.
Yep.
Mia, once again, so there's this Stacy Clay who seems to be a comedian. I don't know if they're a joke account. Excuse me, got the hiccups now. A joke account or not. But Trans Awareness Day, for those of you who didn't know that it was on, Stacy says, would be like if there was a day for people who thought they had cancer, but on further testing found out they didn't. So once a year, they got together and campaigned against cancer treatment. That's a really weird take. The truth, as Mia highlights here, actually, Trans Awareness Day is like if a whole bunch of kids self-diagnosed with cancer, demanded chemotherapy, were immediately affirmed as having cancer, then given powerful drugs and had body parts chopped off based on no testing whatsoever. Then every year, the victims warned others of the maniacs loose on oncology. So this is far closer to what's happening because there is no test. They're being self-affirmed. Then they're having procedures. They're having chemicals put into the body. So Mia is a lot closer to this. And the whole point of the Trans Awareness Day is to warn others. So the Stacy one, I believe, is in that community heavily. So taking that position. And we have our guests. So let's go ahead and get started with our interview here, because I'm very, very, very excited to bring to everybody, again, Nicholas Hulscher, who's been crushing it online. I'm really pleased that he had some time for us to have some more chats. Let's go ahead and bring on Nicholas. Good morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, and congratulations. You're getting a lot of posts out there. You're getting a lot of attention. A lot of people are sharing your stuff, plus the work itself is fantastic. We all suspected a lot of this. We kind of saw it happening all around us, but now you're getting some data and sharing it. So thank you very much for that work.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
How was your trip to DC?
It was great. I think it was a successful event in kind of conveying all of the latest facts and studies about the massive epidemic of vaccine injury to the public and some lawmakers.
Excellent. So were you just meeting behind closed doors? Was there a public thing? Were you in a committee? What were you up to?
It was public. It was all broadcasted. You'll find it on Rumble. If you type in MEVI, it'll show up. The High Wire broadcasted it. Real America's Voice broadcasted it. So people can find it if you want to watch the full thing. You can also watch my highlights from it at thefocalpoints.com.
Okay, fantastic. So the fact that it's being public, that means that they're at least getting that out to everybody. It's not behind closed doors. But I'm sure there's a lot more conversations going on now. These peer-reviewed studies have come out. They're pretty damning. Let me go ahead and bring one of the ones that we brought up on the show. 22 out of 22 chronic diseases are worse in vaccinated kids, including cancer and autism. Can you go ahead and take us through what kind of study this was and how this data was collected?
Yeah, so what this was first of all, the Henry Ford birth cohort study. That was the vaccinated versus unvaccinated study that was basically the center of the documentary Inconvenience study by Del Bigtree that came out in October. That had generated a lot of attention. And it was also presented at the Senate hearing in September with Aaron Siri, who brought up the key findings. And so this was a study conducted by researchers at Henry Ford Hospital System in Detroit, Michigan. They compared 16,000 vaccinated children to 2,000 completely unvaccinated children. And in the original study, they found the vaccinated children by age 10, about 57% of them developed at least one chronic disease, and only 17% of the unvaccinated developed a chronic disease. by age 10. But what we did was we did a reanalysis of it. We stripped away the modeling they used. They used very conservative modeling, which kind of would obscure minor signals that would otherwise be detected. So we took away the modeling. We just looked at the raw numbers. And in all 22 of the chronic disease categories, literally every single one, there was higher rates of those chronic diseases in the vaccinated children compared to the unvaccinated. But yeah, the most shocking one is cancer was 54% higher. And so that was not in the original study. And so when we stripped away the modeling, we see those cancer signals, and that could be explained by injecting children with the MMR shot, which contains fetal DNA fragments that can possibly insert into the genome.
That's insane. But we kind of saw this. Yeah, the turbo cancer, sudden death. But the children, babe, but one second, we'll get to you. The one thing I want to kind of highlight here, Nicholas, is was there any benefit to children when it came to protecting them from COVID at all? Was COVID itself a threat to children? Because what I want to highlight here is this particular segment should never have been poked with this stuff.
Well, this is actually all the childhood vaccinations, this study in particular.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so the childhood vaccines are chronic disease inducing. So are the COVID shots, though. You're right. But this study was before the COVID shots. It'd probably be much worse now that these children were injected with gene therapies. So, and multiple other studies did come out that indicate the COVID shots do increase chronic disease in children. It increases, one study found it increases ER visits by like 20% in vaccinated children, more doctors visit, so they're going to the doctors more. And it induces what's called long vaccine syndrome. It's not long COVID, it's from the vaccine, and it persists sometimes for years after vaccination. Immense fatigue, exertional exercise, or post-exertional fatigue, sleep disorders, and neurocognitive dysfunction.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying that. And the Henry Ford study, that was the one that they almost tried to bury. It was very difficult to kind of bring it out.
Yeah. The lead researcher, Dr. Marcus Zervos at Henry Ford Hospital System, was caught on a hidden camera in the documentary An Inconvenient Study, saying, first of all, he promised he would publish this despite what he found before he conducted it. And then caught on the hidden camera, he said, oh, actually, I'm not going to publish this. I don't want to lose my career. And he basically chickened out. And unfortunately, he declined to publish it. And so it was basically forced into the public domain by, the Senate testimony the Senate hearing headed by Ron Johnson. And so thankfully it got to see the light of day there, as well as the documentary An Inconvenient Study. And now as you can see there on the screen, our peer-reviewed reanalysis of it. So now it is in the peer-reviewed literature, the hard data.
That's fantastic. And that's what I'm really pleased about is even though he didn't publish it, it was taken, peer-reviewed, and then it's now out there. And it's too bad, and it's so sad, but it speaks volumes when a researcher is afraid to actually, follow the science and then provide the information. So clearly there's a, fear of their career, some retaliation, and that speaks ideology to me. That doesn't speak science to me anymore. Yeah,
it's completely ideology, and it's fear of what other people think. So some of these researchers and doctors, they care too much about, what their peers think of them if they say certain things. And that puts them into a hole where they're basically sequestered in a tiny bubble, and they can't, say what they want. And so, we got to get away from that and start telling the truth. And, if he came out full speed, published a study, and was not being, scared, perhaps we would have been in a much different situation, if this literally came out of Henry Ford itself, particularly when it was completed a while ago. So, these studies had the potential to be conducted, 5, 6 years ago. And so, they were intentionally withholding this information that should not be allowed.
Now, where did they get the unvaccinated? Because vaccines, childhood vaccines, are pushed really hard. So it must have been difficult to find a group. So how did they find an unvaccinated group to study?
Yeah, so they had children enrolled in their insurance program, their health insurance program at the hospital. So basically, every time, all of these children in the study had to go to Henry Ford for the care. So, but 2,000 of those children, their parents elected to just not give them any vaccines. And so, it's obviously a far less percentage of parents that refused all vaccines, but there was that, about 2,000 parents that declined to give them it. And yeah, so that's basically just where they came from. And so, but they were able to verify that for sure they didn't get them. And we saw the obvious answers to that study. They were healthier in every single domain. And in most cases, there was 0 cases of things like ADHD, diabetes. You'll see their brain dysfunction, tics, intellectual disability. There was 0 cases of that in these unvaccinated children, probably because they were not injected with like 32 doses of toxic materials.
Yeah, that was one more thing I wanted to highlight here is, ADHD kind of exploded in the scene over the last 30 years or so. And then they have treatments for that, Ritalin and others. So you get damaged and then they provide you with medication they say helps. We'll see about that. I lost my brother. He was 17 at the time of the accident. He was hit by a car. He was heavily on a lot of medications because he was diagnosed as ADHD. He's my half brother, different fathers. He was living with his father at the time. But I strongly believe that because he was heavily medicated, he was like a zombie. He wasn't focusing at all and rode his bike into traffic trying to get home. And we lost him that way. This is terrible to see. Now, Paula, you kind of wanted to mention something before we move to the next one?
No, not really. It was just a case of us being gobsmacked with what they're doing to our children. Just awful. And there's a comment in the Facebook chat that basically a pet woman regrets, like, if she knew then what she knew now, she would never have had her children vaccinated. So now she's begging her kids, don't put anything in the grandkids, please. Just don't give them anything. It can't be trusted.
Yeah, and that's one of the silver linings from all of this. Like, COVID exposed a lot of problems with the medical industry where there's narratives being pushed. And as you guys are pulling information like Nicholas is doing here, we're learning more and more about what was going on even before COVID. So all the people that were popping up and saying, hey, my child has autism because I believe it was from the vaccines that they took as children, everything was fine until, those kind of people that were doing those talking points were right, it appears. Correct, Nicholas?
Yeah. I mean, we understand that. Now we understand that basically this whole thing is just a big scam. The childhood vaccines, they never tested them properly. There was no double-blind, placebo-controlled trials to license them. Not one. They just compared these childhood vaccinations with other vaccines that also were not placebo tested. So basically the whole thing is just a complete disaster.
It's a house of fraud.
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of fraud going on all along. And unfortunately, people were more concerned about, let's protect ourselves than is this really protecting us? And then we've seen this explode with the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. Let's jump over to this tab here, where you highlight here the COVID-19 mRNA injections can cause sudden adult death syndrome, SADS. Now, this is something that the Sean Hartman story kind of covers, is because he was 17. So it's not really, in the category of SIDS, but we can talk about SIDS also possibly being vaccine-induced as well. But as you know, that Dan Hartman is fighting for answers, but his mother is not part of this story because his mother actually believes that Sean died from SADS. So now that you're kind of highlighting here that in adults, the sudden death of adults can also be tied to COVID-19 mRNA vaccines, things are kind of falling into place. So thank you for publishing this one. And can you kind of take us through some of this information?
Yeah, this one's very important. The cardiovascular side effects were basically contained to myocarditis in the mainstream and public health agencies. Like, they admitted that would happen, but they claimed it was mild and transient. And what we found, that's completely not true. What this myocarditis can lead to is sudden cardiac arrest via multiple scars and micro scars on the heart, on the myocardium. So when you get that heart inflammation, it doesn't just get inflamed and then go away. The heart actually scars up as a result, and some of these scars are so small you can only see it on a microscope. And this was found in an autopsy study. There was 3 people that had sudden adult death syndrome after the shots. They had like 5 to 6 boosters, each of these individuals, and then they looked at the autopsy at the heart, and there it was under the microscope, these little tiny micro scars that probably led to this ventricular tachycardia. The heart was just beating erratically, and then sudden cardiac arrest, collapse, and death. And so that appears to be the pathway here. We published a paper elucidating this COVID-19 vaccine-induced cardiac arrest. And we also published another paper finding the population signal of these cardiac arrests in King County, Washington. We looked at the official King County EMS data in King County. It's one of the best EMS data sets that are publicly available. And we found there's about, right after the vaccines rolled out from 2020 then on to 2023, there was about a 1,200% increase in excess cardiac arrest deaths. And so we see, and so we have to remember 98% of King County, where Seattle is in Washington, was vaccinated. So right after they're vaccinated, we see a giant spike in these cardiac arrests. So we found that it does occur with these larger sample sizes. And now we know that mechanistically through the autopsy evidence that it can occur as well. And so, and this is why we saw sudden deaths among, professional athletes, particularly back in 2021. But we still see some actors and some notable individuals, collapsing and dying of cardiac arrests at young ages.
And go ahead, Lev.
Go on, Lev. I want to finish this because I want to circle back to the childhood vaccines once we're done with this.
No problem. So one of the things that Dr. McCullough provided in the documentary was that this could be triggered by adrenaline. So this is why athletes we're seeing a lot more there. He also did a peer review study with some Italian colleagues, 10-fold increase in sudden death on the field amongst athletes. He also provided testimony that in young people, between I think 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning is when there's a surge of adrenaline as well. And when it comes to public figures who are standing at the podium talking, that could also be adrenaline because people are nervous doing public speaking. So this has been well known, myocarditis triggered by adrenaline way before COVID. And one of the things he said was, we knew this. And so this is why we would tell athletes to stop being athletes if we find myocarditis. And the last part there, before I throw it back to you, was he also said it doesn't have to be like a large outbreak or anything like that. Just in a precise spot on the heart, a very small case of myocarditis can get triggered by adrenaline and become fatal.
Yeah. So they get the shot. The lipid nanoparticles will get into the heart, and the heart will begin to produce these toxic spike proteins. The body will attack it. It'll get inflamed. And then once it's inflamed, there will be that scarring. And then at that point, once they go and exercise, or they have that surge in catecholamines, dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, that can trigger, then they'll have a very high, heart rate. But unfortunately, their damaged heart cannot handle that stress load from the exercise or even in the early morning waking hours, and that will trigger their unfortunate demise. And that has happened in many cases, unfortunately, but those are the consequences of taking a cardiotoxic gene therapy.
Right. Right. And that's why we heard things like people went hiking, they were healthy. They went out and did some activity, some exercise, swimming. Like there's all these cases. Dr. Makis provided a whole bunch of examples of healthy doctors, young healthy doctors suddenly dying until they took down the webpage of providing that information. So this is kind of making a lot of sense when you're doing something that's physical and a little taxing on the heart. If the heart has a damage in the right spot, that could be enough to become fatal. But what's the term that it can cause? I'm horrible with these terms. Fibrillation, ventricular
fibrillate. Man, now I can't say.
I do that all the time to my wife too. Yeah.
Ventricular tachycardia.
There we go. We'll get a different term out because Jason, I'm infectious. I mess up the language all the time. Okay, so babe, this is some of the things that you've seen highlighted in our documentary because Dr. McCullough provided that, Dr. Shoemaker as well, highlighting these concerns about this is why people are finding their loved ones deceased in the morning. We had one person share their story last night in Medicine Hat, where I think it was their niece or a family member found her significant other just deceased on the couch overnight. And they were, some of the people thinks it's sad. It's just sudden adult death syndrome or sleep apnea. But they should take a closer look at stuff like this. So if you have a loved one, something happens overnight, maybe have them take a closer look in the autopsy. So Paula, you wanted to circle back to the vaccines?
Yeah, so serious question from one of our viewers in our locals. I'm at the point in my cancer recovery where they want me to take all of the childhood vaccines again. I'm extremely hesitant. And does Nicholas have an opinion? I'm just wondering if any of the childhood vaccines they're asking me to take are safe or are they all too risky?
I would say I can't give medical advice. I'm not a physician, but if I was in that situation, I would probably, decline to take those, particularly if I had cancer, because, taking all of those shots, it's not, in my opinion, it's going to not help the cancer. In fact, I don't know if it could make it worse potentially. Nobody's studied childhood vaccinations in cancer patients as far as I'm aware. And we have to remember these shots do induce inflammation in the body. They're literally designed to elicit immune responses and inflammation. And, inflammation does make cancers worse. So, that's what I would say. But again, I can't give, medical advice.
If I recall correctly, this gentleman, he's in this July, he should be 4 years cancer free. But so I think that's why they're saying, okay, so now you should go ahead. So that's why I think he had, after bringing up the conversation regarding the fear with childhood vaccines today, I think it's prompted him to think, well, should I go down that route if it's what's been recommended to me?
Well, you could possibly go to a doctor that, is aware of vaccine risks, get a consult from him. I honestly haven't heard of a situation of an adult needing all these childhood vaccines again. So, yeah.
Yeah, up here in Canada, I've seen a few of them, especially if they can't find the records and they say, okay, well, we better get them all done again. I've seen a few cases of that. And when it came to transplants, they were requiring the COVID vaccine, which made no sense. Like, why would you attack the immune system of somebody who's already immune compromised as they're going through a transplant? And here in Alberta, Sheila Lewis passed away before she can get a transplant because of that battle to go ahead and get one without a vaccine in her. It's also happened in Ontario to Garnet Harper, and there's stories all over the place of that. So I'm not surprised to hear what Paula's sharing, that this is a concern. But yeah,
I'd like to add one thing about transplants. We're working on a case report now. We're about to publish it, where a 66-year-old man was awaiting a kidney transplant, and he had to get the COVID shot to get the transplant. So unfortunately, he got the COVID shot because he was forced to for a kidney transplant, and he died 60 hours later of a sudden cardiac arrest. So yeah, unfortunately, they duped so many individuals. So many transplant patients, forced them into taking these gene therapies, and it has resulted in some fatalities, as we've documented. And honestly, that should be a crime, right? You can't, requiring an experimental product for a transplant and then them dying as a result. I mean, that should be medical malpractice, maybe even assault and battery.
Yeah, that's something that there's a lot of us that are still talking about, the Sheila Lewis case here in Alberta, and want to bring that forward because there's even more to that one. She absolutely was a good candidate. The doctor who created the Western Canada heart and lung transplant program said she's a perfect candidate. We can get her treated with a transplant, but yet they ignored him and went with the other doctors who were following the guidelines, which was to require a vaccine. After some court stuff, she was allowed to be put back on the list, but it was too late at that point. So I do agree with you. This should be a crime. Some people should be going to jail for those kind of pushes. As we were
people.
Yeah, I know.
A lot.
Yeah, I know. We could be here all day listing people who should be on that list. But let's go and get some good news that you posted here, or some helpful news. A study finds sunlight and vitamin D resolve long vaccine syndrome in 82% of patients. So you mean some of this older stuff that we knew about to keep your immune system healthy is helpful?
Yes, exactly. There's these Japanese researchers that conducted a study in chronic fatigue syndrome, or basically that's just long vaccine syndrome. These individuals developed this long vaccine syndrome shortly after the COVID shots, and they gave them vitamin D replacement therapy. So it wasn't only vitamin D supplementation, but they gave them sun guidance and told them, how often to go in the sun and to get sun exposure. So it was a combination of taking vitamin D and sunlight. And literally 82% of those patients, I believe there was over 20 or 30 of them. 82% of them literally did not meet the criteria for chronic fatigue syndrome anymore after they raised those vitamin D levels through sunlight and supplementation. And so they weren't tired anymore. They were sleeping better. They were just, they were enjoying life much more because they weren't suffering as much. And they literally resolved that diagnostic syndrome. So that's very promising. That just goes to show we need sunlight. I would say sunlight's better than supplementations. Some people say the supplements, it's not going to be as effective. And it's true. Sunlight has over 1,000 other metabolic benefits, mitochondrial benefits, cellular benefits as well. So yeah, sunlight's key. And then I list there also as well some other things. We do have spike degrading enzymes. We published a few papers on this, a few case reports, and a few laboratory studies have been done showing that nattokinase and bromelain do directly degrade the spike protein in the lab. And we have shown some degradation of it in some case reports in vaccine injured patients who were taking these products. And then at different time points, their spike antibodies would decrease, and even in one case, within their circulating in their blood, the spike protein levels decreased as well. And then we have movement there, 7,000 steps a day. A study came out last year that it used to be 10,000 steps a day. Now you only need 7,000, and that decreases the risk of death, cancer, death, dementia, diabetes, Alzheimer's, basically everything bad. So if you walk, you decrease your risk of all those things. And then obviously real nutrition, no eating Doritos, no eating a bunch of hyper processed garbage, just eating whole foods filled with all the vitamins and minerals that your body needs. And you will be at a much better state if you're vaccine injured.
So what you're kind of saying here is locking down people in their homes was not helpful, especially if they were injected with this. Actually, it would make you a lot sicker. And for us, we didn't do that experimental treatment. But one of the Joe Rogan episodes very early on, there was a doctor on there that said the exact same thing you're saying right now. Vitamin D. You need to add vitamin D, vitamin C, then vitamin D, zinc. So we started to do that very, very early as well. And we haven't been sick since. Now, both Paula and I, December 2019,
yep.
For the first time in my life, I was off my feet for a couple of weeks. I suspect that might have been, the original COVID. And then Paula took a while to get over the cough. But as soon as we started to do the vitamin D, zinc, C, we haven't been sick since.
Yeah, and that checks out because that's how effective those vitamins and minerals really are. That's how essential they are. No, most people are deficient, particularly there in Canada. I mean, in the winter, almost everybody there's deficient in vitamin D. And yeah, nobody's getting vitamin C anymore from diet unless you're eating, fruits and some vegetables. And and vitamin C is, again, that is basically all the animals in the world, or most of them, produce it on their own. Humans, and I believe ferrets or some other animal, were the only, or hamsters, it's one of those. We're the only ones that can't produce vitamin C on our own. We lack the enzyme to convert, I believe, glucose to vitamin C. So we have to obtain it from diet. And so that's, critical. Zinc, for sure. That's essential for immune function and is an antiviral. It helps kill these pathogens. And it's just that I know a lot of people like to combine that with zinc ionophores like hydroxychloroquine if they're sick, or ECGC, which is a catechin in green tea that can act as a zinc ionophore, which means getting that zinc inside of cells.
Excellent. So, Paula, your little witch's brew is probably quite healthy for you. And what
so.
else do we add to our daily intake? There's a couple more things you added there.
Yeah, we've added a K2 as well, but we've got the C, the D, the zinc, the K2. I take magnesium as well. I think that's it.
No, what's those big ones called?
The big ones are the vitamin C.
No.
The long one,
the big ones that we take two of.
Oh, omega. Actually, thank you for there was one of the omega-3s.
Isn't that good for brain health?
Yeah, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I am
Sorry,
a
you
woman
forgot
in
about-
important, so I need I have some other things fighting against me.
Fair enough. But thanks for that clarification, Nicholas. Now let me jump to some more breaking victory. So Idaho passes S1356 to ban mRNA injections for kids and pregnant women. It just passed the Senate Health and Welfare Committee and is advancing. So I guess it's similar to Canada. Once it passes the Senate, it goes maybe to the House and gets passed. Is that how that works?
Yeah, exactly. So this is big because this bill has a real chance of actually passing in the Senate and House. So it passed through a vote in the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. So it needs to pass committees first to get onto the Senate floor, and it has. So hopefully it gets to the Senate floor soon. We get a vote, and then we get a vote in the House. Hopefully it passes both, as it will be required. But, we have received some indications that, if it reaches the House, it may very well pass. And the reason I say it has the best chance is because it's conservative. It's only banning the shots for kids and pregnant women. Obviously, these gene therapies need to be banned for everybody because they have killed, injured, and disabled millions upon millions across the globe. But we got to protect the children and pregnant women, unborn children. That's absolutely critical, and I think these lawmakers agree that at least we kids should not be receiving this. You cannot pour some vodka in your 10-year-old sippy cup. You will go to prison. So you also should not be able to inject them with a cardiotoxic, neurotoxic, and carcinogenic gene therapy.
Well, this is a great step in the right direction, and to make sure everybody understands this clearly, this is not just the COVID vaccine. This will be all mRNA-based injections.
Yeah, well, no, this bill in particular is for mRNA injections for infectious diseases. We have to remember the biotechnology lobby is so powerful. They came in, we saw all the messages they were sending these lawmakers. I mean, they were just trashing the bill. The problem is these companies are so obsessed with mRNA. They want it for cancer, for chronic disease, for basically every disease they can think of. They want mRNA for, and so it's very bad. And so this particular bill targets the infectious disease indications of at least stopping them from rolling them out, for bird flu or for the flu or for all these other diseases. So, yeah, but hopefully we get it passed. Hopefully just something passes where we start to, dig away and protect people from these shots.
Fantastic.
Nicholas, I have a question. What are, if any benefits of this mRNA? Like, why is it? He says they're pushing it for everything. Why? Like, what is their listing for it?
They're pushing it for everything because they think it's magical and they think it was a success with COVID-19, and it's absolutely foolish. So the problem is once they got away with experimenting on people without repercussions, now they think they can just experiment on people with everything and improve these gene therapies for everything. And there's really no data that's backing them up that these are going to be safe or even helpful. And it's going to face the same limitations, the same dangers, because all of these mRNA shots for whatever disease you have, it's going to be in lipid nanoparticles, and that will not be targeted. It will go to every single organ system, and then those organs will be producing proteins that they should not be producing, and you're going to and again suffer all these autoimmune syndromes, heart damage, brain damage, etc., and cancers. So so they induced cancers with the mRNA shots, and now they want to bring in the cancer cure, so-called cure, with more mRNA. And so these are the activities of a criminal enterprise.
Create the problem and then bring in the solution. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book throughout human history, for sure. And on this conversation about mRNA, here's one more that we'll get to. The USDA approved extremely dangerous self-amplifying mRNA injections for dogs and cats. This came up in one of our showings of the shot, was when it came to veterinarian side of things, they're using mRNA all over the place. So now the USDA has approved it for the self-amplifying version of this for dogs and cats. Can you kind of highlight why this is such a concern?
Yeah, this is a very, very significant concern in the United States. I believe it's approved in Canada as well.
Yeah, our vets are using this in everything from cattle to dogs and cats.
Yeah, so this is just a stab in the back. This was in 2024, or at least our USDA approved Novavax NXT. It's a self-amplifying mRNA shot for dogs and cats. They barely tested it. I believe it was a field test of about 30 dogs. They followed them for like a few days. And so they're basically untested. They never tested it for shedding. Probably was shed to humans through bodily fluids. We don't know how long these are going to last in the pets, given how they do self-replicate in the body. And so now these pets will be producing these toxic antigens for basically an unlimited period of time. And so, yeah, you go to the vet, make sure it's not Novavax NXT. Don't inject your animals with this. It's just a absolutely bad idea, and you don't want to risk that shedding on you. But also, people have to definitely raise their voices on this, and we got to get these off the shelves, and people need to be made aware. The common person that's not on social media doesn't know. They'll go to the vet, they don't know what they're injecting with their pets. They won't ask because they don't know that there's self-amplifying RNA being injected. So we got to tell people, do not get Novavax NXT.
For sure. And we received a report here in Canada that a pet owner was shocked and very upset to find out that their pet received the COVID-19 vaccination, wasn't asked for, and they only knew about it because it was on the bill and they had to pay for it. So the vet who was going ahead and providing these vaccine shots, we'll just call them shots, without even the consent of the pet owner. So be very clear and very careful when you're taking your pet anywhere. Do not inject my pet. You do not have my consent. Record it if you have to, because they were quite upset. Not so much as the price; it was $200, but it was for the fact that it even happened. It wasn't asked for. So, and we also have reports that this is happening on farms as well. So, cattle, horses, sheep, goats, all over that place. They're now pushing mRNA-based vaccinations for them. Can you kind of highlight a little bit more for us why the self-amplifying one is so much more dangerous? Like, why is that one so scary?
Yeah, that one's scary because it's some sort of chimeric genetic construct where they insert replicase. It's a gene from a virus, and they insert it into this modified RNA. So it's some sort of synthetic construct that once it gets into the body, now that it has that replicase, it can use your body to replicate, unfortunately. And, so you're going to have self-copying genetic material, modified genetic material. And that self-copying genetic material is read by your ribosomes in your cells, which read the mRNA to produce proteins. And so you'll have a large amount of protein production, toxic protein production, more so than conventional mRNA, and for longer. And again, they're even rolling these out for humans. In the UK, they just did. In the European Union, in Japan, and in India, they're giving these to humans.
Yeah, I heard some stories about that as well, especially when it comes to the spike. This means your body can continue to produce the spike protein, because one of the things I learned researching for the documentary was your body can get rid of it through detox and through time. Your body can stop producing or shedding spike unless you get another dose, or now this self-amplifying and replicating one as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, some individuals who received the original shots, we have published a case report. He's still producing spike 3.5 years later.
Oh, wow.
So, it appears to have integration sites in the human body in some individuals, especially with Pfizer. It's got these DNA plasmids, from the manufacturing process appear to be getting into some cell lines and just perpetually being produced as each cell is born, basically. And so again, even with conventional, that can be very long lasting as well.
Okay, so you kind of shared with us about one study that you're working on, which is the transplant one, forced vaccination, the death after 60 hours. Can you share with us anything else that the McCullough Foundation's working on? What's coming down? Like, what are you guys keeping busy doing now?
Yeah, right now we're doing a lot of things. Right now we are working on a bunch of case reports, particularly one about another. I mean, this was very disturbing. A child, his grieving mother, reached out to us. Her child did receive 3 Pfizer mRNA injections, developed a cardiac sarcoma, a heart tumor, and it metastasized to his brain stem, and he suffered a slow and painful death, unfortunately. And then his tissues, his tumor samples were shipped to a German laboratory that looked for vaccine components, and they found the plasmid DNA from the manufacturing process in the brain tumor, in the brain stem. So that's coming out soon. And, many other things. We're looking at all the other childhood vaccines and any serious adverse events with those. We just did MMR. Now we're going to look at HPV. We're going to look at hepatitis shots, at pneumococcal shots, and we're going to look in the vaccine adverse event reporting system for any signals. And then we want to do a case series of autism, of children who received a battery of shots and then shortly regressed into autism. We're planning on doing a large case series of collecting as many cases of developmental regression after vaccination as possible, and really, dig into causality of vaccines and autism.
Okay, and thank you very much for that update, and we'll certainly have you back again in the near future to continue with those updates. And then there's also Dr. Speaker is working on some stuff to see what's going to happen with the next generation, to vaccinated parents, what happens with their child. Transgenerational is a term that's being used here, that quite possibly this is going to be a very big issue for generations. So we're still figuring out maybe what some of this damage has happened to parents, the eggs in women, the sperm in males, and then what happens when you're trying to reproduce.
Yeah, that's very real. A study came out last week that found mRNA and spike protein in the placenta of 37% of vaccinated pregnant women. So we know it does go to the baby, and now we see signals of transgenerational harms in official government data. In CDC data, we see that excess infant mortality is up about 50% since 2021. So babies are dying more than normal right after the mass vaccination campaigns began. It was going down for 30 years, and then it shot straight up. Mississippi even declared a public health emergency for their excess infant death crisis. So yeah, it's definitely real.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have a quick question. I was going to save it for locals, but I think this may actually benefit the public viewers as well. What about travel vaccines? So we're always seeing, like, traveling to this tropical destination, get your hepatitis, get this one. Are these being affected by mRNA technology?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. There's plans to, for sure, but as far as I'm aware, not yet. They're trying to roll it out for flu, but no, they haven't rolled it out for hepatitis. They've rolled it out for RSV. So it's really just RSV, COVID-19 that it's been authorized for. I think there's a few others, but yeah, they're planning on making all of these shots mRNA. So we got to really fight against that.
Thank you very much for sharing that information. And what we're going to do now is jump over to our locals, our supporters. Please stick around for a little bit longer, as we have a couple more questions for you, Nicholas. But thank you so much. Your X is full of great information. You're getting out there talking about this. And I really appreciate the McCullough Foundation and the work you're all doing, because it's very, very helpful to get peer reviewed, to get studies done, to take data that maybe wasn't supposed to well, not supposed to, but they didn't want it to come forward. You guys are taking it forward and making sure that we get some more information there. So thank you very much. Hats off to you and the rest of the foundation. And a big thank you to Dr. McCullough for his contribution to the documentary. It's really opening up a lot of people's eyes. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
So hang on. We'll be right back with you. There you are, babe. Oof. Like, here's the thing. The stage I'm in now is I'm so sad that this is happening. There was a lot of people that spoke up earlier. I kind of wish it was just a conspiracy theory, but every week that goes by, there's just more evidence out of Japan, out of Italy, out of the US, going through the Senate, going through the House. But Canada is so way behind on this one. So way behind.
No.
Alberta took a shot at the Dr. Davison report, commissioning that report. It turns out they didn't like what was said in there because they said the same thing that the Senate in Idaho, I think it was, or Iowa, Idaho, said, no, you got to ban this for children and pregnant women. So Alberta said that years ago, hasn't done it. So I'm so sad to see how behind we are on that one. And you're seeing it in more veterinarian shots as well, the mRNA. So it's getting into our food supply because it's going into cattle and other animals.
Yeah, they're just trying to get it to us in every way, shape, and form they possibly can.
Yeah,
which is very interesting to me that if they are technically polluting the pool of people that they can do tests on, like if we're all infected or if we're all damaged, how can they create and do studies and manufacture new medication, new drugs that they're trying to get into us if they're damaging the pool of resources they have for testing? It's just so weird. None of this makes sense to me. And I've always asked the question, to what end? Like, to what end are they trying to really achieve other than depopulation at some point?
Look, there's another video that's on Nicholas' timeline. Go check out his timeline for sure. Go subscribe to him or follow him. It was Bill Gates laughing at the comment that our vaccine's a bioweapon, and he's just laughing like a moron, really. And that's telling to me. That's very telling to me that he's trying to dismiss it. He didn't even address it. Didn't even argue it. He's just laughing it off. We're not jumping into the whole depopulation portion of this conversation, but this has been going around for a long time. And you're right. To what end? Because this is beyond common sense and it's ignoring science. So why are they still pushing it and trying to convince people, sending nasty letters to the senators, trying to scare people using fear tactics? If you take a look at my timeline, I posted the 9 principles of propaganda, and fear is one of them. You just scare people because it turns off their logic when you do that. So this is what I think is going on. Yeah,
unfortunately.
All right, public, thank you so much. Let's remind them we're not back next week. So next week we're going to be traveling. So the Levine show. Go ahead, love.
Yeah, so go ahead, like, subscribe, share it out. You can also become a supporter and join us right now for the second part of our extended conversation with Nicholas. We'd love to see you there. But yes, we are going to be away all of next week and probably returning the following Tuesday. So, yeah, so bear with us. We'll keep you posted on what we're doing. Of course, you can go ahead and find out where we'll be locally regarding the support Sean.ca. So you can go ahead and see where we'll be and go ahead and reserve your seat. And we'd love to see you there too.
And if you haven't done so already, go check out the McCullough Foundation. And if you want to help and contribute to making sure that these kind of reports and studies continue, because quite frankly, there's very few places that are doing this, go ahead and support the McCullough Foundation as well. Good work being done there.
Yes, exactly.
But okay, everybody on the public side, have yourself a wonderful.
Yes. Take care. Bye from me.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care of each other. Love you all very much. God bless.